Once upon a time, on the outskirts of a quiet village, there was a dense forest known as the Whispering Woods. The villagers had always kept their distance from the woods, especially after dark. Strange things were said to happen there, soft whispers that seemed to come from nowhere, shadows that moved on their own, and lights that flickered among the trees without any source. The elders often told stories of people who had wandered into the woods and never returned. These eerie tales only fueled the curiosity of three adventurous friends, Emma, Ben, and Lucy. They loved exploring, and the stories about the Whispering Woods intrigued them. One summer evening, just as the sun was setting, they decided to venture into the woods to see if the legends were true. Armed with flashlights and a hand-drawn map, the trio stepped into the forest. The trees were tall and close together, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out most of the fading daylight. As they walked deeper into the woods, the familiar sounds of the village faded away, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the occasional snap of a twig. At first, everything seemed normal, but soon they began to notice strange things. The air grew colder, and an eerie mist started to rise from the ground. The path they had been following became harder to see, as if the forest itself was trying to lead them astray. "I think we should turn back," Ben suggested, his voice trembling slightly. Emma, always the bravest, shook her head. "It's just a bunch of trees," she insisted, though she felt a shiver run down her spine. "There's nothing to be scared of." But Lucy, usually the quietest, had a nagging feeling that they were being watched. She couldn't see anyone, but the sensation was strong. "Maybe Ben's right," she whispered. "Something feels off." Just then, they heard a faint whisper like the rustling of leaves in the wind. But there was no wind. The sound seemed to come from all around them, yet no one else was there. "Did you hear that?" Ben asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Probably just the wind," Emma said, though she didn't believe it herself. The whispering grew louder, becoming a chorus of voices, all speaking at once. The words were unclear, but the tone was urgent, almost like a warning. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. The trees seemed to sway and twist, their branches reaching out like long skeletal fingers. The mist thickened, swirling around them until they could barely see each other. "Run!" Emma shouted, and the three friends took off, sprinting through the woods. The path had vanished, and they had no idea where they were going, but they knew they had to escape. The whispering grew louder, almost deafening now, and the mist seemed to close in on them. They stumbled over roots and rocks, their flashlights flickering wildly. Emma could hear Lucy sobbing, but there was no time to stop. The forest seemed alive, its trees forming a maze that twisted and turned, leading them deeper into its clutches. Just when it seemed like they would never find their way out, they burst into a small clearing. The mist retreated, and the whispering stopped, as abruptly as it had started. They stood there, gasping for breath, their hearts pounding in their chests. "Let's go," Ben urged, grabbing her arm. "We need to get out of here." The three friends hurried back the way they had come, not stopping until they were safely out of the woods and back in their village. They never spoke of what they had seen, but the memory of the Whispering Woods stayed with them, haunting their dreams. The villagers continued to tell stories about the Whispering Woods, warning their children to stay away, and the woods remained, dark and silent, its secrets hidden in the shadows. The whispers were still there, just beyond the trees, waiting for the next curious soul to listen.